Huge explosions, blinding lights, a military dogfight with a giant shape-shifting UFO. It's a scene worthy of an X-Files finale, except this all took place in a quiet village in South Wales.
There were theories about portals opening up, I don't know, time portals, dimensional portals. This was something genuinely very rare.
Whatever it was not of this world or of this dimension.
Well, I believe it wasn't military, put it that way.
A structured craft of unknown origin operating over the UK. It must be a potential threat. It must be.
In the early hours of the 26th of February 2016, residents of Penturk witnessed an event that would change their lives and rock the international UFO community. Witnesses describe a vast pyramid-shaped vessel forming over a row of trees. The huge craft was outlined in brilliant bright lights. Then things got even stranger. An aerial armada of military planes and helicopters engaged the UFO in a terrifying battle, culminating in its apparent destruction. Witnesses remain convinced what they saw was extraterrestrial, but the official line taken by the military? It was a training exercise. Could this be pointing to a cover-up? As an ex-MOD official himself, Nick Pope is perfectly placed to know how the authorities react in such situations.
You're dealing with these inherently secretive organizations whose default mindset is not to share this information. It always worries me when you come up against the secrecy. I mean, that's the most frustrating thing of all.
If the Penturk UFO incident is being covered up by the military, we'll stop at nothing to get to the bottom of what is surely one of the most sensational UFO sightings in British history. Sarah, this is an amazing story. It sounds so dramatic. How come I've not heard of this?
I am really curious about this one. Again, we're talking about a triangular-shaped object, multiple witnesses, bright lights. It's something we hear a lot in all these unexplained cases. What I am curious about, though, is the lack of hard evidence. Where's the photographs? Where's the video? This was 2016.
Yeah, but I mean, they're talking about firefights in the sky, the military being involved. Surely the military would release a statement about this, wouldn't they?
Potentially, yes. The fact is, we've got to investigate this. We've got to trust what people are saying.
OK, who do we talk to first?
We need to talk to a witness, and one of those witnesses, her name is Kaz Clark. She saw things firsthand. I believe this experience changed her whole life.
Tell us what you saw that night.
Okay, well, it was really the military that had attracted my attention to everything, with the planes that they had in the air for 3 nights prior to its arrival. I was just about to go back into my home when I heard a huge plane coming. It sounded like a missile. So I went back out, and the first red light was visible high above the trees behind my house. So I called for one of my neighbours, and we ran over to the gate. And this one red light turned into 3 red lights that was the very pinnacle of an enormous pyramid. It came through a black veil into our world. It was turning very slowly anti-clockwise. When it got into the upright position, it fired this really bright green object out of the top, like a big bright green star, and that moved across to the trees, just stopped there, just rocking gently backwards and forwards. I stood on the 5-bar gate to get a better look and exclaimed that it's landing, thinking it was coming down. And it ejected what I described as a hand of lightning. After that, we saw the helicopters flying low across the fields on our left-hand side in a triangular formation. on an interception course with this green object. And after the helicopters had gone out of sight, there were these two barrel-shaped objects. Absolutely silent, about the size of a small car, red in colour, and the insides appeared to be moving. It was turning in on itself, a bit like a cake mix, you know. And one of these red objects stopped above the hedge, about 20 feet away from me. The only thing I could think to do was to wave. And I felt it scan me. Within 24 hours, it turned my hair white. Now, these objects moved off in different directions. We walked back to my home, which is about 30 seconds away, and we heard an enormous explosion. And the explosion was so loud, so big, people were shaken awake in their beds. They had 20 military gunship in the air, C-17s, C-130s, Chinook helicopters, Apaches. This was not an exercise. This was real life over a residential area, and we're not allowed to know.
Later that morning, Kaz began to post on social media, stating that this was no exercise and in fact a major UFO event. Soon after, she was contacted by a mysterious man with a list of questions. What did they say to you, Kaz?
They wanted to know who I'd spoken to and how exactly I had spoken to them. So I agreed to meet with them and was immediately threatened with perhaps a fatal car accident. They asked me, wasn't I worried about what was going to happen to me and my family? Accidents happen all the time. What did I want? Which I thought was a very strange question to ask. So whoever this person was part of what happened that night.
It's chilling, it's powerful. How do you feel now? How do you feel telling us your story now?
It still affects me. I can't say it doesn't. It made me question absolutely everything. Because these things are real. And our military know they're real. And our military are actively pursuing and shooting these things down.
Our problem with this at the moment in trying to investigate it is your account of it is so vivid and so well told. We've got no evidence at all that it actually happened. When you waved, why didn't you reach for your phone? Why didn't you take video evidence of it? Why didn't you take photographs? I know...
We tried.
You tried?
We tried. Our phones were completely dead. Completely dead. I don't know if that was something to do with the E3 Sentry.
I'm actually blown away. We're going to see if we can play some small part in trying to get to the bottom of it. But your story
It might
is...
help that I took 3 polygraph tests to prove that what I said I saw was real.
Kaz, have you got the polygraph data?
I do, yeah.
Can you send us that?
Yes, I can.
That is the scariest story I've heard in, well, forever.
My concern is, are we at risk investigating this when you hear what's happened to her?
I've got no idea, but I'm going to look into it because that is the most harrowing, disturbing story I've ever heard in my life, and so believable.
She was so genuine, she was so affected. I mean, it could still be military activity. We don't know what's happened.
But the fact that people try to close it down, the shadowy
Why?
forces, this is getting really interesting. Coming up.
60-foot trees have been snapped in half.
So it's like something's crashed through it. We reveal hard evidence of a potential crash site in South Wales.
We followed the debris trail through to its end, where all these burn marks and scrape marks on the surrounding trees.
And here's startling testimony suggestive of a military cover-up.
They changed their story at least, I would say, a good half a dozen times at least.
There's people keeping secrets. There's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot we're not being told.
We have a right to know, you know, if we're in any danger, any threat.
Most UFO sightings